welcome to Devils United. Today I thought to do something a little bit different. I know I'll be doing my prediction shows very soon, but I'll be doing my predictions for the Premier League table of the 2022-23 season. All these predictions are based on what I think the squad is currently at right now. I know it can change between now and the end of the transfer window and the 31st of August, but this is based off the situation of right now for each team who is in the Premier League, including the new clubs of Nottingham Forest, Fulham, and also Bournemouth. But it's based off how the teams are. I'm not going to mention anything about rumoured because we know there's quite a rumoured amount of people in all different kinds of clubs. So we'll go now and we will do my Premier League table. I think, though, it's probably best to get the disappointment teams out of the way, in my opinion, the disappointing ones. And then we'll go with the highest, the top. So let's do this. People who's already watching, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. Also mention as well in the chat who you think will finish where in the league, because it'll be very interesting. I've seen a load of people have a load of different opinions from what I've seen on social media, on other people's channels as well. Hey there to my dad. I hope you are well. Thanks for coming in. So we'll go first with the team that I think is going to finish 20th in the league. And I'm going to go with Fulham. For me, I just feel like Fulham now, they don't, I think in terms of the club, I don't mind the club in general. I think they're a nice run club, but they don't put that investment into the team, and I don't think they've got the right manager to take them forward into the Premier League. They have stayed in the Premier League before. We know that they can do that, but they haven't done it when they have been coming up in the past couple of times. They have made some recent signings. Andreas Pereira from Manchester United. Potential great signing, who knows? He hasn't really played in the Premier League for a couple of seasons now because he's actually been on loan, Flamingo being one of the loans who we had last season. And for 10 million, not bad for us, but it's interesting to see how he will work at Fulham. I think he does have a good goal or so, but we've always called him pre-season Pirlo, and there's a reason why we do call him that. For me, the best signing that Fulham has made is actually Palhinha from Sporting. I think Palhinha is such a great signing. He's been at Sporting for 10 years. And for Fulham to snatch him up, I think, wow, absolutely terrific. But so you hear of the adaptations, players taking so long to get into the league properly, and knowing that Fulham, they're going to have to look at the teams around them to pick up points to stay up in the league. And you look at that and think, should they be really looking at players who are great in the league already, who's already had that Premier League experience? So is Palhinha the right choice for them? Even though I think he's terrific, is he right for them? And another one who they signed is Callum McFarlane from Bradford College. If you're wanting to stay in the Premier League, you can't be making these types of signings. You need to put that bit of investment into the team, and putting in for around 20 million altogether, it's not a great transfer move by Fulham, and you need to be doing what other clubs that's done in the past. Brentford done it last season. Leeds have done it in the season before. You see in Nottingham Forest, which we'll touch on later on, have also put investment in to stay into the Premier League. And if you are wanting to stay in the Premier League and be a serious club, you need to put the investment in. So for that reason, I've put Fulham in 20th. But I do, as I've mentioned, I genuinely don't believe that Marco Silva is that right manager to take Fulham into the Premier League for a second season. He hasn't been very good. His spells at Everton, not so good. I wouldn't be surprised if he does get sacked from Fulham this season. I really would not be surprised. Let's see what other people are going for. Hey there, Luca. I'm very well, thanks. How are you doing? Hey there, Rave. Thanks for coming in. And hey there to Reese. Thank you as well for coming in. Luca's saying the same. Fulham to be 20th. Ravi's gone for 18th. And here's another thing. What has been touched on. Liverpool has bought one of their best players, of Fabio. If they had Fabio, I'd have that a little bit more confidence in Fulham. But knowing that they have got rid of him, for Fulham, and I even say it's quite cheaper. It's not very good news from Fulham whatsoever. Exactly, yeah, spot on, absolutely spot on, rather. United 5th for me. Luca, feels weird you doing men's football. Yeah, I'm back to doing the men's football. I'll be doing more. I've got a preview next week for Brighton. I've got some player profiles of Donny and Ahmad. So you'll see some more men's football this week now, Luca, until the women's WSL comes back on in September. Luca's gone 5th as well for United. Hey there, Martin. Hope you're well. Thanks for coming in. I hope you enjoyed the game last night because it would have been a terrific atmosphere. Luca's gone Arsenal 6th. Good evening, Matthew. Thank you for coming in. I hope that you are well. I have 5th, but depends on signings. My dad said, even with signings we got, I think we will be 4th. So that is interesting. So I'm going to go on to the next team that I think is going to finish 19th. And that is Leeds United. I think Leeds United were extremely lucky they did not get relegated this season. I think I really like how Bielsa plays football. I really, really do. But the thing is, with Bielsa, he will never change his style of play. That cost him a lot of points, especially knowing that there was dropping points. They was having to play their under-18s. They didn't put the investment in January. I know there's been a load of rumours why so, but Jesse Marsh comes in. Yes, he fixed them up defensively. That's great. And I'd argue that probably the way Jesse Marsh played, getting Bamford back, Calvin Phillips, that's probably helped them to stay up. And I think they was extremely lucky that it was not them over Burnley to get relegated. So, but looking at it from this season, from what I have seen of Jesse Marsh, I don't particularly rate him as a manager. I'm even looking at his signings right here. There's some great signings there of Tyler Adams. I think he is a great defensive midfielder. But is he Calvin Phillips? Because he's lost Calvin Phillips, he's lost Rafinha. And you know that two players like that, your player who you would argue is your spine in your team, a player who got you the highest goals last season, you would argue that they're so hard to replace. Is Tyler Adams for 20 million? Is he the answer to replace Calvin Phillips? And in my opinion, I would probably say no. But looking at the other signings, what Jesse Marsh has made, Mark Roca, Bayern Munich, from Bayern Munich. We all know Bayern Munich does not ever go outgoings or incomings. They will only get rid of a player if they don't want you whatsoever. And we've seen that before. We know that they only bring a player in if they really, really like him. They'll never hardly fix their team. So if they're willing to let Marco Roca go so easily like that will question me myself, because he is a defensive kind of player. And that is where Leeds really need to fix up. I don't think they've done enough for me in this transfer window, considering the amount of players they've left, the more important players they've left. Just for Calvin Phillips and Rafinha alone, they've got over 100 million to spend. Over 100 million. And with that 100 million, yeah, we've seen the history of Leeds. You will consider from the past what they've had. They're a big club. I obviously, Leeds are my rival, but as for a player abroad, you look and think, oh, Leeds in the past, they've done this, and you'd think the kind of history will pull them in to come to Leeds United. I just don't think that they're doing enough. And for that reason, I really can't see Leeds at all staying up this season. I think the time is up. I know probably me, myself, I'm a bit 50-50 about Leeds. Am I happy for them to stay up? Am I happy for them to leave? And in my opinion, I'd only want them to stay up for the 6 points. Apart from that, I will probably want them to go. But I think the time's up now for Leeds. Jesse Marsh, he's gone into a walking death trap, let's just say, for the club. So we'll go through a couple of comments and I'll go to the 18th. Hey there, Vincent. I hope you're well. United first. We can always dream that, Vincent. We always can. The game was awesome last night. The atmosphere was electric. Poppy's an incredible player, but I still say it's coming home. I love the spirit, Martin. It is coming home. It is coming home. You know this. It is coming home. Leeds, Nottingham, Fulham, bottom 3. You'll be able to see who my 18th place is in just a moment. Reese, I think Spurs and Chelsea will struggle. I think Chelsea will definitely struggle compared to last season. Luke has gone for Spurs to be third. I think Man City first, Liverpool second from my dad. Rafi said, all depends if Leeds get the right signings. Yeah, I agree. It does depend on the signings that Leeds have, but based off this currently right now, I just don't think they're enough to be a Premier League club, especially with the talent that they've lost so far. So I'm going to go now onto my 18th place. Bournemouth. To be honest, I was kind of excited to see Bournemouth back in the league. I thought they played some terrific football when they did come into the Premier League last time. I think Eddie Howe was a superb manager. They don't have Eddie Howe anymore, though. And I liked how they was able to nick points where you wouldn't have expected them to nick points, such as Chelsea. And I think with it being COVID, it was probably a much harder game. Clubs are out for a long time. But based off right now with Bournemouth, you look at the squad they've had. They had Williams on loan, where we spoke to Craig on the player profile for Ethan Led, and he even said that Williams was one of their best players, and to lose them to another Premier League club, Nottingham Forest, that is a very bad mistake, especially knowing he was your rock in the back four. You'd expect that Bournemouth would at least want to put him on another loan deal. So far, Bournemouth has made 2 signings. Ryan Fredericks from West Ham and Joe Rothwell from Blackburn, both on a free. You look at them 2 signings, and I look and think, are you really wanting to exit from the Premier League right now? Scott Parker, yeah, great manager, don't get me wrong, but how can you not make no investment whatsoever in that squad? 2 signings on a free. I think they will have them times where I think they will pick up some points, but you can't go on and make 0 signings. You're looking at Fulham, and they made more interesting, more signings. And you look at Bournemouth, who I think has done well, and think, why have you not made no signings whatsoever? And they've got so many outgoings. Gary Cahill being one who's left. Owen Palmer's been released. Robbie Brady has gone to Preston on a free. Jack Seddon has gone on a free to Weymouth. So you look at them kind of things. I think, why are you letting go all of these players and you're not wanting to invest into your team? Because not just, I know the Championship is a lot more intense in terms of the games, but in terms of the Premier League, you're playing at a much higher level and you still got your 2 cup competitions. You need the squad depth, and I just don't think Bournemouth have what it takes, to be honest, to stay in the Premier League based off what they've done so far in this transfer window, because I do think it's not gone well whatsoever. But let's go and look at some comments again. Let's go. So Maisy said, I think Spurs are going on a madness this season. Hate to say, but Conte is taking them places. I really agree. And I do also think under the same breath, Martin, he's had so much investment, Conte, and no one can say Conte hasn't had the investment from the ball, because you've seen it. Jose Mourinho didn't have this kind of backing. Pochettino didn't have this much backing. Pochettino went transfer windows of our signing. So no one can ever say Conte did not get backed by this club. They're bringing in Conte-style players. And if he isn't taking Spurs good in the Premier League, if he's not having a good cup run or a good cup run in Europe, you would be questioning either the players or the manager, because he should be doing great with the signings of Perisic. Wow. Spence. Well, I know we'll go into more detail about that, but I think that you should be doing good with the signings that they've got so far. Ravi said, Chelsea are not guaranteed to finish in the top 4. Chelsea's not strong enough. Interesting. That is interesting. Spurs will finish 3rd, but only by 4 or 5 points ahead of 2nd. Ooh, that's interesting as well. Hey Kai, I hope you're well. Thank you for coming in. Good to see you as always. Matato, hey there, good to see you also. Thank you for coming in. Plus Conte won't waste about, the squad has to exactly my point. Hey there to Tony, thank you for coming in. I hope that you are well. Good to see you doing a show with John the other day. It was great to have the chat with you. Hey there, Prasanna. I hope you're good. I feel like Southampton could go down. They've been at the edge for a long time. Exactly. It will be interesting. And I'm actually going to touch on Southampton very soon. Hey there, Red Devil Studio. Good to see you. I hope that you are well. Conte has been backed. He needs to deliver. 1000% he does need to deliver. Ten Hag not being backed. He's been backed up to a semi-degree, but he should be backed a lot more. Frankie de Jong, we need to look again him, or a midfielder. We need a backup. We need to basically improve everywhere. I know we can't do that in one window, but I think we should be getting a bit more than what we have so far. Hey there, Anthony. I hope you are well. Please tell me you've put Arsenal 4th. I'm a bit far behind from 4th at the moment, but you'll see soon where I have put Arsenal. Perisic is a quality buy. He sure is. Rather, his age is against him. I think he will struggle. Ooh, that is interesting. Kai, top 4 is what I want. Who knows? I think West Ham had certainly invested, and they could potentially get top 4. Nice. It was good to see you as well, Tony, especially knowing that we've been chatting as well off stream. So getting to know you and to have that conversation, it's been fab. Hey there, Andrew. I hope you are well. I've done my relegation team at relegation ones at the moment. So I've done my 18th place, and I go to 17th. Southampton, I've gone for 17th place. So I'm discussing them a lot sooner than what probably a lot of people would have thought. But I think me and Prasanna definitely did have a similar mindset about this. Southampton, I think Ralph Hasenhüttl is a top manager. And I do think with Hasenhüttl, if he was to be backed, if he was at a team with so much great quality, he would easily compete for cups. He would easily get high in the Premier League. I think if he was at, for instance, West Ham. I'm not saying that David Moyes should be sacked, by the way. But if he was at Southampton, I think he'd even still, West Ham, he would do so well there. I think if he came into the likes of Chelsea or Manchester United, I still think that he would do so great. But the problem is he has had serious lack of investment. They've got rid of Danny Ings last season. I think it's not going to be long until Ward-Prowse does end up leaving as well. He's going to want to win trophies. He's getting into the England squad, so he is going to want to compete. I know Ravi has asked, who has Southampton really signed? And I actually think the best signing they have made is Rangers player Aribo. Aribo from Rangers is such a good pressing player. I think in the terms of how Hasenhüttl plays, he suits him. But the problem is he plays the 4-4-2. If he's playing that 4-4-2, is he going to get the best out of the likes of Aribo? Is he going to be playing as a false nine? Look, he's an attacking midfielder. And for me, when I have watched Aribo, I prefer him playing as in the number 10 role or the number 8 role, and I think he'll end up playing used as that in that top two with if that's going to be with Shea Adams or if that's going to be Armstrong. I don't think Aribo is going to be used for that midfield role. And looking at the other signings that they've made, they've signed Bella contract from Botchev on an undisclosed fee. Overall, they spent 23 million. 23 million on players, but they're getting rid of Shane Long, who I think could be a great substitute to make. Fraser Forster, he's gone to Tottenham on a free. Thierry Small, he's gone on loan to Port Vale. They've had a lot more outgoings than they've had incomings. If you're not going to back your manager, they're going to put him in a much worse situation. So, as much as I like Hasenhüttl and the way Hasenhüttl plays, I think he's really on borrowed time right now. So that's why I'm going to put Southampton as 17th. As much as I actually don't mind Southampton. I don't mind the manager, but it's just got to the point where it feels like how people would describe Burnley. They've outstayed the welcome in the Premier League, in my opinion, anyway. So let's go back onto the comments now. I can see there's more people on there. So hey there to Gaz. I hope you're well. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you're good. Yeah, definitely a decent move there from West Ham. Absolutely terrific. David Moyes is a good manager. He is a great manager, and it's a shame that I think if he came to Man United now, he would do so well. But it was one of them where he came to the Manchester United, high expectations. He was less experienced, so I think he was in a death trap with Manchester United. But I think if he was to come now instead of years ago, I think he would have done so much more better. Hey there, Doug. I hope that you are well. My 3 down are Bournemouth, Fulham, and Southampton. Yeah, I literally have Bournemouth and Fulham as well, and the one who I had also was Leeds. I had Leeds to finish at 19th, and Bournemouth 18th, Fulham 20th. So we have basically similar. It's fine, thank you, Beth. England's been amazing. Oh yeah, they really have. The belief in the team has been terrific, and you've got to be so proud of the club. You've got to be so proud of Serena. They've really turned the team. Even though the team hasn't changed much, she was just that missing key for the team, what we really, really needed. Hey there to Chris. I hope that you are well. 18th Leeds, 19th Fulham, 20th Bournemouth. Yeah, so I had the same relegation as you, but I had Leeds in 19th, I had Fulham in 20th, and I had Bournemouth in 18th. So we had similar. Will Everton go down? It's a possibility. It is a possibility they may do that. Rather, I think Brentford will struggle near the end of relegation. Where they'll go down is another story. Yeah, that is true. That is true. And we will touch on Brentford when the time comes. Chris, I've gone for Southampton as well. Great minds think alike, let's just say. Hey there, Stephen. I hope you are well. Thank you for coming in. 17th Everton, they are a mess. Yeah, absolutely. They are a mess. I don't know what's going on with them at all. Arsenal defo gonna get top 4. Had the best transfer window after City. Yeah, and as well, Kai, Arsenal is the team that spent the most in the Premier League this and last season, but still struggled to get into top 4. How can you struggle to get to top 4 when you're spending over 200 million in 2 transfer windows? It's mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Won't shock me if Hasenhüttl will walk. That is a very good point. I think that if he doesn't walk, he definitely will get the sack. It'd probably be like mid-season or nearer to the end of the season if he was going to get sacked, though, to be honest. England is going to win the final and the first silverware since 1966. Yeah, you've got to hope they do. I'm backing England all the way, of course. England lasses have the talent to win, but depends on the day. Yeah, it depends on both players, both teams on the day. Who knows? Wait, just remember, Top Spur have a 10 out of 10 window. Top Spur. Brentford relying on Tony too much. Yeah, I agree. Lampard won't last the season. Yeah, that is a good point as well. Hasenhüttl, great manager, not bad. Exactly. That's exactly what I think. And that's why I think he's on borrowed time, because he's not getting backed. Let's go to 16th place now. I've gone for Everton. What can I say about Everton? Doug in the chat, absolutely spot on. Everton are in an absolute mess. They could potentially even get point reductions. If they get point reductions, they're done for. They were so lucky to have a manager like Ancelotti. I know Ancelotti didn't win them things, but they was guaranteed top 10 at least. You've got Rafa coming in, who is a Liverpool fan who's managed Liverpool, and he's turned your club upside down. You're bringing in Townsend, you're bringing in Damari Gray. How is that building up your team? Lampard comes in. Well done, Lampard. You've got him out of relegation. Fair enough. Good on you. Lampard, I don't think he is Premier League quality. Championship quality? Yeah, great. He done it for Derby. I think, yeah, fair enough. He's done good. He wasn't, I think he was too, I think Chelsea was too big for him in terms of a job role. And Everton, it's too much of a dangerous job. And I don't think he has what it takes to make them dangerous moves if needed to be, to try and get up them points. And I'm looking at who Everton signed so far, and 2 of the players who they've signed are from Burnley, and they spent 20 million altogether, and that was just on Dwight McNeil. James Tarkowski, I really rate him as a centre back. I think he's terrific. James Tarkowski is, how can I say, he is probably by miles their best centre back. He could probably play on his own in a back 4, and he'd probably improve that back 4. That is how bad Everton's back 4 is. Dwight McNeil, I think he's there for a Richarlison replacement. But I also think with Everton, look how much they have spent in the past couple of years, and what have they got to show? A potential relegation. The managers can't agree on anything. They're just in an absolute mess, and if they get that point reduction, it will be not 16th place. It will be a lot worse. They will be relegation. So Everton need to be extremely lucky that they don't get relegated at the end of the day. So let's go on to the comments now. These are decent players, Premier League proven, and now Arteta has his ideas across. Yep. Maisy, simple Maisy, manager are crap, and we don't have a good window for players we don't need. Hassan Hootle has never been backed. Yeah, I agree. Hassan Hootle has never been backed, to be honest. It's a shame, because if he was at the club that does back him, I think he would do so well as a manager. I really do think so. And let's see here. My bottom three are Forest, Everton, and Leeds. That's interesting as well. I haven't said Nottingham Forest yet. England women might actually have the bottom line men who are who are pushovers, and I don't mean rollovers like the chocolate bar. Rolo, yeah, Rolo. But yeah, I was thinking, okay. Tarowski is a great signing, but I still think that we need players to improve the squad. Why would you want to sign 2 players who have been relegated? That's not. Is that really improving your squad? Even though we're great, does that really improve your squad? And the answer is no. We need to sign players who have been up there, who has, I'm not saying win trophies, but done decent in the Premier League if you're looking at Premier League signings. Have to go rest up. Yeah, take care, Stephen. Thanks for coming in. 70 for me was Bournemouth. Yeah, so we only had one each, did one between each other. Shame Everton couldn't keep Ancelotti. Could you blame Ancelotti for going? Could you really blame him whatsoever? Everton had a Barcelona of finances, Luca. You've literally said comment of the night there. Honestly, you really, really have. I'm going to go on to 15th place now. I've gone for Brentford. I think Brentford, they do have the squad to stay up. Especially even if they didn't make signings, I think they still got the squad to stay up. But I don't think Brentford is going to be that Brentford who has done so well, especially with Eriksen. And I think, in my opinion, they was very lucky to get Eriksen. Otherwise, they probably would have been fighting with Leeds and Burnley on the last day of the season about relegation. They still got top players such as Tony, they've got Mbumo, they've got Ethan Pinnock. I know a lot of people don't look at Ethan Pinnock as a great player, but I do like Pinnock. Henry, they've got Canos as well. They've got very, very good players, and they can stay up with that. And they have made some signings, and there is a couple of signings for me where I look at it and think, yeah, it probably does improve your squad. Aaron Hickey, one who people was considering as one of the best left backs in the Italian league last season. So that altogether, is going to be a great signing. And I do look at it as well and think, what is Thomas Frank looking at doing? Because we look at Rico Henry, he is also a left back. So if you wouldn't drop Rico Henry at all. So are they going to maybe look at putting Rico Henry in the midfield? Are they going to look at using Hickey as a backup for Henry? But that, first of all, is a player who will help you keep up. Another one who I think is great, that they have signed someone from Lazio. I'm not called Thomas on a free. And I think not just getting players who are from different countries, but doing ones what suit Thomas Frank is exactly what Brentford has done. We've seen the kind of players that Thomas Frank likes, the kind of players that Thomas Frank adapts to. So to get them kind of players in, because we know that Thomas Frank has used a back four, he's used a back three, and Lazio has played a bit of both, from what I believe. So I think it's still another great signing there from both Brentford and Thomas Frank for the signings, and still with the squad they've got, because when you look at who's left, apart from Eriksen and Fars, I think Fars is going to be a player who I think they will miss in the long run, but he isn't going to get in over Ivan Toney, not at all. So I can see why he does want to leave. But he was a signing for Brentford for the future. So they're the only two what strike to me and think they're tough ones to lose. But under the same time, the squad that they've got, it's not overly different. And as well, I think that the squad can improve upon. It's still only the second season ever in the Premier League. So they can only improve from there. And I think with what they've got, they definitely can improve. So let's go again with the comments. So let's see. Brentford still making signings, which is the main thing. Exactly, they have been making signings. They've lost, I'd say, 2 arguably good players. And apart from that, they have made signings, and they've made decent signings as well. And that's what you need. If you want to stay in the Premier League, you need to invest. And that is going to work massively in Brentford's favour for the future. My 16th is Southampton. Yeah, so we was pretty close yet again. I think King Lewis Potter is one to watch. Yeah, I heard a bit about him, but I haven't watched him before. I've heard he's great though. Forest will just be outside, lost excellent players. Yeah, I think Brentford could surprise a lot of people again. Interesting. Brentford 14th. Can't stand Thomas Frank from Gaz. I don't like Thomas Frank and the way he behaved, but I think as a manager in himself, I do think he's great. I really do. Good question, Rabbit. I actually like Cole Palmer. I think he's a great player. He's definitely one for City in the future in terms of can he get to that Man City squad potentially as a backup for a right wing player, or if that's going to be as a striker. From what I've heard, he's supposed to be linked with Sporting at the moment, and I think Sporting is the right team to take them further. I went for Forest bottom. To me, too many changes to the team too quick, but I could be very wrong. Yep, I think Leeds made a lot of signings as well, didn't they? So, in their first season, and they've done well. So, I'm sure we'll get onto Forest very, very soon. My top 6 will be Liverpool, Man City, United, Spurs, Chelsea, Arsenal, no particular order. Yeah, I think a lot of people will have the exact same, Raz. Brentford at 15th, I went 16th. Yeah, very close again. Doug went for 16th for Leeds and 15th for Nottingham Forest. That's great. Luca went for 19th for Leeds. I like Thomas Frank from Luca. So I'm going to go into my 14th place now. Nottingham Forest. I told you I'd speak about them very soon. Nottingham Forest. They've made some very, very good signings. They really, really have. I think what you're looking at the way Nottingham Forest has looked at, I think they've been looking at how people have stayed up in the first season. And what strikes out, I know where Raz there has mentioned Lingard, but the one what strikes me the most is Dean Henderson. You look what Dean Henderson done for Sheffield United in Sheffield United's first season in the Premier League a couple of years ago, and he was key. His distribution, his goalkeeping, his penalties, his shot stopping, everything about Dean Henderson that helped them keep him up. And I think, in my opinion, the likes of the signings of Dean Henderson, the keeping that 1 year there of signing 1 year deal on Jesse Lingard, for looking at getting players abroad like Musa from Mainz, even improving their backup goalkeeper of Wayne Hennessy, who is a Wales international. That is just going to improve your squad further and further. And in my opinion, with Nottingham Forest, even if he doesn't use all these players, Steve Cooper, fair enough. If you don't want to use them all, you can't use them all, obviously, in one go, and you're not going to probably play a lot of them often. But the likes of Wayne Hennessy, for instance, that is a good representation. It's a leader, and I think for Nottingham, they had a very young squad. To have that kind of player in the dressing room is a good representation, that good lead to say, right, boys, you do this. And to have a Dean Henderson who shouts at you on the pitch, say, you go here, you go here, you go here. And Jesse Lingard, who has won cup competitions, who has won the Europa League back in 2017, yet again, it's just going to improve your squad. Even if, like I say, even if you don't use them often, it's still players there who's a good representation. But it's going to be interesting because they've lost James Gardner, but I know they've made midfield options. They've lost Spence, and I think Spence for me is going to probably be the player who is going to be the hardest for Nottingham Forest, even though they've made all them signings. Spence is an outstanding player, and I really, really like Spence for the player he is. I just wish Manchester United actually signed him. I'm still jealous about Spurs doing that, to be honest. Because I said from the beginning, I think it was probably months ago, I want Spence. I want Spence from Middlesbrough / Nottingham Forest. He is a player who can fit into that Manchester United team. But fair play, fair enough. It is what it is. But let's go into the chat now. Chris went for 12th for Nottingham Forest. Doug went for 14th for Brentford. Ravi Forest done well getting Nico Williams. And not just that, Bournemouth had him last season to already weaken a Premier League, a club who's just come into the Premier League. That, even if they don't use Nico Williams much, that is a very smart buy by Steve Cooper. It really is. It really is. 50 for me were Wolves. Not convinced they will keep Neves, and he is key. Yeah, I think he could. If they do keep Neves, they'll be much higher up. But I based Wolves based off them keeping Neves because Neves is still there right now. Luca went 13th for Forest. Hey there, Renee. I hope you're well. I'm very well, thanks. Where'd you put Leicester? You'll see soon where I put Leicester. You will see soon. Hey, James. I'm well, thanks. How are you? Luca's gone for Leicester for 9th. Reese has gone for 13th for Leicester. Motherwell. Oh my God, that is absolutely they've gained a good goalkeeper. Exactly. Reese, come on. You know Dean Henderson is a good goalkeeper. Put away the side what he's done. He's a good goalkeeper. If he didn't come out with all this rubbish Dean Henderson, I would have kept him. I would, because I think he's an outstanding goalkeeper and he's still young. 14th for me are a potential surprise team. Fulham. Wow, that is a shock. That is a shock. Hey there as well, Vincent. Again, hope you're well. So I'm gonna go on to my 13th place now. I've gone for Aston Villa. I think with Aston Villa, Steven Gerrard, I think he's going to want to push that team forward. We've seen that Steven Gerrard, you've seen what he's done at Rangers. He wants to build a reputation in the Premier League. You know that he's wanted to play in the Premier League as a manager. So I think he's going to want to push it further. I think one good thing that he has done, just take away the signings for a split second, he's took Tyrone Mings off as a captain. And for that really shows to me the kind of guts and the kind of mentality Steven Gerrard has as a manager. And he's given it to John McGinn. John McGinn, terrific midfielder. And as well, is a leader. So he's made the right choice in doing that. The signings he's made is great. Let's just say Kamara. Wow. I would have had Kamara at Manchester United in January. If someone said to me, do you want Kamara? I'll go, yeah. He would fit in Manchester United's midfield any day. And for Steven Gerrard to go on the people's noses and to get Kamara, and people like, what? Aston Villa signed Kamara because no one knew about it, not even no reporters. He announced it. It got announced before reporters announced it, so that really says a lot. And to get him on a free as well, it says enough. They've signed Coutinho on a free. I don't think Coutinho done his best for that half of the season, but I think if any manager, apart from Klopp, is gonna get great out of Coutinho, it probably would be Steven Gerrard. Diego Carlos easily helps the back four. So he has strengthened that team. He signed Robin from Roma. He signed a player from Rangers as well. So overall, he's actually not done so bad. And what I've liked as well, he's actually done some scouting in Scotland where he's actually played, where he's actually managed. So I think that this season, Steven Gerrard will definitely improve. With them signings he's got, that should be a mid-table team. And if he doesn't get that team into a mid-table team, it will be questions being raised about Steven Gerrard. It really, really would. Because if Dean Smith is getting sacked, then why should Steven Gerrard be there for not doing great for Aston Villa? But I think he will improve. He hasn't been there for a season yet, so just like other players, just like the players adapted to Steven Gerrard's adapted to the team, and he's adapting to the Premier League as a manager. So I'm expecting a lot better from Aston Villa, and I think they will do a lot better. I'm good, thanks, Maisy. Got Everton down to 17th. As for Nottingham Forest, 15th. I reckon their home form is crucial for them. I really agree with that. It is going to be crucial there for it is going to be crucial for Nottingham Forest, and I think they will do. I think they will do well. I do really think they will. It's going to be interesting though. See what's going to happen with them, because I think they're going to be the team what no one can really predict at this moment in time. So haven't Leicester sold Casper? I'm not too sure. I don't think they have yet. Dog 13th Wolves, not strengthened enough. Also lost Jimenez for 8 weeks. And Benteke going there. Then the thing is, I love Jimenez. I really, really do. I think he's one of the players where I look at Jimenez as a outside of Manchester United thing. He was a great player. And if someone said to me before his injury, would you take Jimenez? I go, yes. I would take him at Manchester United any day. And I think it's such a shame he had that injury, that head injury, because he hasn't been the same player since. It doesn't help him getting a new manager in Bruno Lage, but I think Bruno Lage is great. I like him as a manager too, but I definitely do see your point about Wolves that haven't strengthened. I think Gerrard is in a little bit of a trouble next season, rather. Thought he wanted him there at Liverpool, rather. Luca, what do you think of Thomas Tuchel if he doesn't improve? Why do people think Chelsea won't get top 4? Well, we'll have to see what I've said about Chelsea yet. If Villa finish 13th, they will be gutted. Yeah, I agree. But I think there's too many good players ahead of, too many good teams ahead of Aston Villa at this moment in time, based off the signings and the current players. Gerrard is a make or break, same with Lampard. I agree. Gerrard, I'm hearing he finds players for being late. So he should. If you can't be bothered to turn up to your training on time, you either fine him or you drop him. I think he's spot on for doing it. Villa's got a scary midfield, especially knowing that they have signed Kamara now. Villa signings hasn't impressed me. Kamara good, but Villa defence needs sorting. Mings Chamberlain crap. Villa midfield good, but their defence is utter pish. Yeah, I agree. But they have strengthened with Diego Carlos anyway. I think I put Villa in 9th or 10th. Can't see them pushing for Europe. Yeah, I can't see them pushing for Europe anyway. Maisy. I want them. They're not going to get relegated, not by a while. Defence needs sorted on paper. Villa with a better coach can challenge for top 8. But Gerrard is his first window. Chambers crap. Mings crap. Villa best defender. Matty Cash, yeah, outstanding. And they've lost as well, Matt Target. Villa 10th for me, says my dad. So we're not that far at all. Best defender is Carlos. Carlos and Matty Cash. Villa finished 10th for me. 13th for me, Brentford. Lovely football. Could even finish top 10 with a fair win. They could do. The Premier League is so unpredictable at the moment. Maisy, Gerrard isn't ready for Liverpool manager. He needs more experience. I was only pulling your leg, rather. I was only pulling your leg. So I'm going to go now on to my next team for 12th, and that is Crystal Palace. I think for me, Patrick Vieira, for his first season at Crystal Palace, outstanding. To get them far in a cup competition, for them to just finish around mid-table, it was so good, and he managed to bring in them young players there of Conor Gallagher. He's adapted the team so good in terms of getting them into attacking kind of football, which we haven't seen on Crystal Palace. So fair play for Patrick Vieira for doing something different, and it's worked for him. So I think you've got to give him a pat on the back for that. And I think he's only going to improve further. And one thing what people said about Crystal Palace is that they need to improve defensively, which they did. They brought in Sam Johnstone from West Brom, so that helps them there in terms of the goalkeeper. And we know that Sam Johnstone, he had one of the highest saves in the Premier League 2 seasons ago. So that already, even though he got relegated, he was still a top goalkeeper in terms of the saves and the stats he did have. So he could be crucial there for that Crystal Palace defence. And another one, Michael Iwobi from Derby, 17, 18-year-old. Great. I think Patrick Vieira I know he was linked to United, but Patrick Vieira is still another good manager who is able to do well. Who is able to help a player improve further, because we've seen him do it this season. I think the thing is with Crystal Palace, they have signed 5 players so far, and I think they do need to get a couple of more players, in my personal opinion. I think, personally, I would like to see that they get another midfielder, maybe even another forward player to help them out massively. But apart from that, I think overall they've got a great squad, and they can definitely push to that top 10. But the thing is, with Patrick Vieira, he needs to be careful that he doesn't get sniffed out with the way he plays. Because we know that we've seen it before where a manager's done so good, and then teams that automatically start sniffing out how the team works. So that's what he needs to be careful of. But apart from that, there's no reason for me on why he can't finish in 12th place. So let's go quickly there with the comments. People talking about Tuchel. Andrew, I also have Palace for 12th, even though on their day they're much better than 12th. Yeah, I agree. They definitely are better than 12th. And they can do better than 12th. I think Palace for me was the most unpredictable team, because if he gets sniffed out, they'll be quite low. But if he does it how he does this season, there's no reason why he can't finish mid-table, that's for sure. I have Palace in 9th. Brilliant. Top 10 is Palace's aim, but I agree with 12. I've been impressed with the job Patrick Vieira has done. I've been very impressed as well with Patrick Vieira. I think they definitely can be a top 10 team, and they can work towards that, but I think they do need that little bit more investment and longer term buys. Because if they went and got, for instance, Conor Gallagher on a permanent, that would automatically strengthen their team, because he was their key player. If he was able to keep Zaha fully fit, And Edouard fully fit. There's no reason as well why they can't be in the top 10 as well. Luca, Palace for me, Vieira done outstanding. Arsenal bogey side, I'm afraid. But I think we will beat them next week. We're looking for revenge. Palace need to give Edouard a chance. Yeah, Edouard is a brilliant player. My dad's got 9th for Crystal Palace. Motherwell down 2-0 from Doug. Classic. Absolute class. Wolves gone for 12th with Brighton. So let's have a see if any. Oh, congratulations, Doug. I'm so chuffed for you. I hope your job goes very, very well. And you're much happier in your job as well. Sometimes having a new job does the best best for you, best for your mindset as well. So I wish you all the best, Doug. Let me know how you get on in your new job. Well done for your new job as well. So let's go with my 11th place. I've gone for Wolves. Where can I start with Wolves? So, Wolves, I will arguably say Wolves, they've got one of the best defences in the league of Kilman and Coda in that back three. No reason, and they've got Jose Sa, outstanding goalkeeper. So for me, there is simply no reason why they will concede a lot of goals. The midfield, what they've got right now of Martinho and Neves, brilliant again. We obviously don't know the future of Wolves at this moment in time in terms of what's going to happen with Ruben Neves, but as it stands, he's still a Wolves player. But it's the up front. I know they've signed He-Chan from Leipzig on a permanent. That will help them. But as Douglas touched on, Jimenez being out, that's not great. They need Adama Traore. He may as well be an Olympic sprinter. He isn't fit. He isn't good enough to be in that Wolves squad. He isn't good enough for the Premier League. I don't know what he wants to do. If he wants to be the bulkiest Premier League player, the most old Premier League player, does he want to be the fastest Premier League player? Whatever he wants to do, he isn't doing Wolves a favour. But what I do like about Bruno Lage, he will drop a player if they're not good enough. I think he did struggle a little bit the first bit of the season, but apart from that, he picked up great form. I know they sloped a little bit at the end, but overall, he done well for his first season. But Wolves need to improve up front. Unless they improve, I think if they had great goal scorers, because of their defence and their midfield and their goalkeeper, there's no reason why they couldn't finish 7th, 8th, 9th. But because of they're lacking a goal scorer, that's why I think they're going to finish in the bottom half of the top 10. Bottom half of the table, just because of the goal scorer. You need to be, as much as you need a good defence, you also need goal scorers, and they had that with Jimenez. They did, and that's why I think it's such a shame on his injury from a few years ago, because if he was so very fit last season, I genuinely do think Wolves could have potentially got in the Europa Conference League if they kept working at it. Let's go quickly again onto the comments. Wolves, aka the Dingles, will finish 14th. Wolves mid-table from my dad, so we both said the same again. Wolves goalkeeper, good. Yeah, he is great. 11th for me, Brighton. Great little team. Still lacking a goal scorer, 100%. Is Jimenez out for 8 months? I think he's out for a few weeks. I'm not too sure how long he's out for, but it's still I think it's a blow, but he's just not been the same player either. And Fabio Silva is not fit enough to be their main striker. He's not good enough. 11th Villa for me. Yeah. So we close again there, Doug. And you're very welcome. Best of luck. So Wolves don't score enough goals. Completely agree. And going to 13th, they may struggle in the Premier League, potentially. So, I'm going to go to my 10th place team now. And that is Brighton. Let's just say with Brighton, I think they're a great team. Graham Potter has set them up so well. And when I've seen that they've lost Ben White, who got the better side of that Brighton, they lost Dan Burn, and I think you could see that they lost him for a few games. But apart from that, they was great last season. Based off away wins, they would have finished third. Who would have thought that? And that would have been so interesting to see Brighton there in the Champions League. That's for sure. Based off how Graham Potter is at Brighton, I'm actually surprised. Not no big team as they're come knocking on Graham Potter's door. Would you like to come to my club? Because the way he's playing, I think he needs a challenge to be considered one of the best managers in the league. I really do. But the way he has transformed Brighton, you've got to give him there a pat on the back. I think defensively, they've got, for me, I actually think Sanchez is one of the best goalkeepers in the league. He's terrific. Spain's number 2. And you can see clearly why he is Spain's number 2. I think, just as Andrew has touched on, which he's absolutely spot on, Brighton is lacking a goal scorer just like Wolves. And if they had a goal scorer, they would be much better than what they are as well. Welbeck isn't good enough to be scoring goals day in, day out. Neither is Marpe. And as it stands, Brighton are very lucky that they've kept Cucurella. Because as a player like Cucurella, you are going to want to go to Manchester City. But if they keep Cucurella, there is no reason why they're not finishing 10th. Because they've got an absolute brilliant defence. I know, just as Renee has touched on, they've lost Bissouma. And I think with the Bissouma loss, 25 mil, they could have got a little bit more. But they have signed a couple of players. They've signed 3 players. I'm not saying they're going to be like Bissouma, but I think that I don't think that it'll be too much of a big loss there for Brighton either, because they've lost players before and they was able to they've been able to keep, well, last season just said enough for me. So let's go here. Doug's gone for 10th for Crystal Palace. Good night, James. Thank you for coming in. 10th, Brighton. Problem with Brighton, they don't score goals 100%. Reese, Brighton are crap 15th. They will struggle because Bissouma are gone. So people are thinking about Bissouma. Well, but crap. I will say Brighton will go 16th and they will struggle big time. 10th for me are West Ham. Expectations high and sometimes can have pressure onto them. Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from with that one. My dad's gone for 7th for West Ham. So I'm going to go on to 9th place now. And my 9th place team is Leicester City. Sorry, Renee. You was probably hoping that I'd say top 4 for Leicester, but I think they're finishing 9th, I'm afraid. The reason why I think they're finishing 9th is they have been very weirdly quiet in this transfer window. And you are looking at Leicester City. They've had injuries. They've lost points where they shouldn't be losing points. And it got to the point where people think Brendan Rodgers is going to get sacked. Brendan Rodgers on borrowed time. But under the same breath, they got into the semi-finals of the Europa Conference League. But the thing is with Leicester, they keeping Tielemans. Is that a good idea? Tielemans go for Leicester, but they're going to lose him on a free. I think that Leicester need to improve on the defence. Their set pieces cost them massively last season. Kasper Schmeichel may be going. That's not going to be good at all for Leicester. And knowing they've not signed anybody so far, honest, I am very, very worried for Leicester. And I think if they don't make any signings and teams around them keep on improving, they could be even lower than 9th. But based off the squad they've got right now, they're staying in 9th place for me. But they need to be a lot more active in this transfer window because they are going to drop and drop and drop. If it's not going to be this season coming, they'll drop next season or the season before. My dad's gone 13th for Leicester. That's an interesting one, 13th for Leicester, because a lot of people have predicted them mid-table, so I don't think that people think that Leicester's going to do too well. It's okay, we're mid-table. Oh, bless. Now for me, also Leicester, still a lot of quality in the squad, seems to be treading water. That's exactly what I think, to be honest, Andrew. I'm not sure about Rodgers is the man to carry them forward, but yet again, who else is there for Leicester? The thing is with Brendan Rodgers, I think that I'm gonna say Leicester, the kind of team he's with Leicester, I think he's good enough for. But he needs to be backed. And when you are seeing things are not going wrong, he needs to improve it. Set pieces. Them set pieces are genuinely Sunday League defended. That is how poor that was. If they continue doing them set pieces, it says a lot when Leicester say, oh, we conceded a goal. Was it from a set piece? That is how much they've conceded by set pieces. And it just says a lot. It says a lot. And Soyuncu, I don't think he's good enough for that Leicester back four. Johnny Evans and Fofana is their best centre-backs, in my opinion. Leicester 9 for me depends on Tielemans if he goes. Exactly, but if Tielemans don't go, it's down on Leicester because why would you want him to go? Your best player on one of their best players on a free. It doesn't make sense. So I'm going to go on to 8th place now. And it is Newcastle United. I did say that Newcastle was going to finish 9th on John's channel, I know. But having a think about Leicester, I swapped them round. I think Newcastle, I was expecting them to be a little bit more active than what they was in January, as active as they was in January. But I know there was fighting relegation. They still managed to pull there with Bruno. They brought in Dan Burns. They brought in Chris Wood. I know Chris Wood had been effective, but they've signed Nick Pope, who is arguably for me one of England's best goalkeepers. They've signed Matt Targett on a free. And one what's going to stand out to a lot of people, which I think people are going to be interested to see, is Sven Botman. Sven Botman, for me, is going to decide on how Newcastle is going to be. Not overly decide, but how well their defence is going to be. Because I do think Sven Botman is good, but we need to see on how good he will be in the Premier League. And I think if Newcastle was to compete for Europe, they need to find striker. And it seems like, right, striker is here. This is Newcastle. It kind of like, a striker just goes over. It's like, you would think that as a club, you can see that, I like Callum Wilson, I do. But you look at it and think, right, you know you need a striker. Why has that not been one of your priority signings? I know there has been a lot of rumours of who's going to be who coming to Newcastle. I know Ekateke was a rumoured one. I know McNeil was signed as a forward player to there with St. Maximin. But you need to be improving your striker role. Because if you're not going to improve your striker role, what's going to happen? You can't rely on Chris Wood, who was scoring 10 plus goals for Burnley, but can't score 5 for Newcastle, who's actually in a better team. So that raises alarm bells for me. But some of the signings that Newcastle have made have been terrific. They made some outgoings on loan and on a free. And I think they do need to get rid of a lot of deadwood if they are going to want to strengthen the team as well. So, but I think they do need. I think from what I've seen, I thought they could have made. I thought they would have made a few more signings by now anyway. I had them in. So that was about Leicester. I agree. Newcastle 8th, decent team. I don't know. Talking about talking about WSL. 8th for me. Villa midfield is where Gazer won or lost, and they got top 6. I agree. I completely agree on that. Joe Linton has improved. Joe Linton, for me, has probably been Newcastle's best player last season. And I think a lot of people underestimated Joe Linton. Eddie Howe's made him a beast. So I'm going to go into 7th place now. My 7th place is West Ham United. Before we go on to West Ham United signings, I'm going to say about David Moyes. He is a terrific manager. The way he has transformed that West Ham team to be a European team, I can't praise the man enough. And I actually think eventually he will end up getting that Scotland job. And if he goes to Scotland and becomes Scotland manager, I think he will do great for Scotland. I think he will probably get Scotland into Euros, World Cups, and maybe even knockouts. But right now, of course, West Ham's his priority. He's been I think with West Ham, they've made great signings of Suscamo, Aguirre, Areola going on a free, coming on a disclosed free. But the only thing is, they was looking at getting they was looking at getting a player from Villarreal, but they changed that because of something about David Moyes. But then they decide, we'll concentrate on Jesse Lingard, and I think they have concentrated way too hard on getting Jesse Lingard just to get knocked back on. And I think that is going to be a potential downfall for West Ham, because they still need a striker to back up Antonio, which of course Brozier is linked. I know there's a couple more linked players to West Ham. If I get the notes here, Kostic is one. Zelensky, another one. So they've got a few players who's potentially rumoured, and they're going to be linked coming very soon. So if they keep improving like that, there's no reason why they can't sit comfortably in Europe. And I think they'll actually. It wouldn't surprise me if West Ham win the Conference League. That is how good and structured I think David Moyes has got West Ham. Let's go on to the comments. Agree about West Ham. Andrew, 7th for me, Manchester United. The fish rots from head to toe as the club still don't know what they are doing. Poor players who will down tool when needed. Yeah, we'll touch on United soon, I'm sure. Bye-bye, Renee. Thanks for coming in. David Moyes has found formula this time round at West Ham. I definitely agree. Yeah, exactly. I was speaking to James, my friend, West Ham friend, and he's been really happy with the room of players, the players who's coming. He's been so happy about it. So I'm gonna go into 6th place now. I wonder if these people are still in the chat who I'm gonna go for, but here it is. My 6th place is Arsenal. Probably going to be a shock to a lot of people. But I look at Arsenal. They've made great signings, but they've lost great potential people. They've lost Rafinha to Barcelona. They've lost Hicker to Brentford. They've lost Martinez to us, Manchester United. They've made great signings in terms of Jesus, Fabio Vieira, who is one I personally like from Porto, and Zinchenko. They're great players, don't get me wrong, but they have signed 5 players and they have spent over 100 million. They're the top transfer window for the past 2 seasons. And I look at Zinchenko in particular. Zinchenko plays as a left back. He wants to play as a midfielder. How is Arteta going to use him? Is he using him for a midfielder? If that's the case, what's the point buying Fabio Vieira? Is he using him as a left back? Does that mean who's the backup, Kieran Tierney or Zinchenko? I just think Arteta is in his depth. I think he's done as far as he can with that team. Arteta is not getting Arsenal into top 4. I don't think so. Not by a minute. I just don't think Arteta is that man. How he managed to, near enough the last day of the season, to bottle top 4, knowing that they were so well in doing so, I don't know. But you can't spend hundreds in transfer windows over the past so many seasons and have nothing to show for it. That is literally Arsenal all over again. So I've gone for 6 for Arsenal. Vincent, West Ham at 8th. Reese, I have Arsenal in 6th as well. Yeah, I think so as well. I know they've signed him from Sao Paulo. I don't know much about him though to say what he'll even do at Arsenal, to be fairly honest. 9th, Newcastle. 8th, Leicester. 7th, West Ham. 6th, Arsenal. So we got the same in 7th and 6th, haven't we, Doug? Andrew, 6th for me, Newcastle. Worried about their lack of signings. Ekateke was needed. Yeah, I think that they really need strikers. I think they can compete for Europe, but I think it's too early at this moment in time to compete for Europe, in my personal opinion. Arsenal 6th. Arsenal finished 11 points above United last year and gone further forward, in my opinion. Yeah, I understand. So I'm going to go on to my 5th place now. And I've gone for 5th place. I think it's Manchester United. Before I do that, Fabio Vieira, for me, in my opinion, Luca, is your best midfielder. He has won the league. You look at that Arsenal team right now. How many players could you say has won the league apart from Partey, who played a couple of games? Who won a couple of games, played a couple of games for Atletico Madrid. Apart from that, who has literally played a whole season and won the league? No one apart from Fabio Vieira. He's a box-to-box midfielder. He scores, he assists. He will slot into that midfield easily, Luca. He just needs a couple of games to adapt. And once he adapts, he will be your best midfielder by a long shot. Him next to Partey will be fabulous for us. I honestly think so. You need to use him greatly. And yeah, I did forget about Odegaard. Odegaard is actually probably my favourite player from Arsenal. I'm really shocked to say that. Yeah, for 5th, Manchester United. Manchester United, yeah, just as Andrew's touched on, we're bad from head to toe. I think, though, Ten Hag, I think that he is going to want to aim to... He has already said, my aim is to be in the Champions League football. But knowing that how the other teams are at the moment, I just don't think Manchester United are going to be top 4. And I think the only way they'll get into Champions League is going to be through the Europa League. I think we've made great signings with Eriksen and Martinez and also Malacia. 3 signings, though, is not enough. We've went too far trying to get De Jong, pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing for De Jong, just for him not to be not coming. And we put all our eggs in one basket on Frankie De Jong. Look for alternatives. There isn't just Frankie De Jong in this world. I'm sure there's plenty of good midfielders who can be like a Frankie De Jong. I'm glad we got rid of the dead weight of Pogba, Lingard. I'm glad about that. And Cavani is another one. As much as I like Cavani, he was still a deadwood for the last season, and we needed to get rid. But Ronaldo, if he doesn't want to be at the club, as much as a lot of people say Ronaldo runs the league, if you don't want to be at the club, you can't have him. No one's ever going to be bigger than the club. If he doesn't want to be a Manchester United player, let him go. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Man United is not for sale. If he doesn't want to be there, gone. And I genuinely think that we need, at least if Ronaldo goes, we need a striker to back up Martial. I know there's one that's linked from Salzburg. We need a right back because I cannot tolerate Dalot again. We need a defensive midfielder as well as a central midfielder, but Martinez may play there. I don't know. And we need a winger. And I don't think we're going to get Anthony. As much as everybody says we're going to get Anthony, I don't think we will. Ajax is clearly stated is not for sale. But I think Ten Hag, he is going to push for the top 4. I think it probably may come down to the last day, but for this season, for me, it's going to be more of an experiment season. Ten Hag adapting to the league, players adapting to the league, adapting to Ten Hag. He's going to be ruthless in what he does. He's going to demand off the board, but the board needs to back him a bit further. Because 3 signings, when the Premier League starting next week, not good enough. It really isn't. I agree. Arteta, Arsenal under Arteta, not good enough for getting 4th. Doug has gone the same with me, 5th for Manchester United. Can't believe it, pains me. I think Man United we finished ahead of you for years, Luca. It was only than last season you didn't, which hurt me. 6th Maisy, 6th. Well, that's it. I'm sad. Sorry, Anthony. I'm sorry. Does Ronaldo want to stay? From reports, no. Is Eriksen going to play as an 8? In my opinion, probably yes. But I think it'll be changed around each game between Bruno and Eriksen because I'd like to see him in the 10 role a bit as well. We will never get top 4 with this manager. It's true because you know my reason why it's embarrassing that how long does it take for Arsenal to qualify for the Champions League? That's 6 years without no Champions League coming to 7. Ten Hag has improved United massively, but what happens if there are 7 goals? May have Martial only. Yeah, we will have Martial only, but I think he's done great, but we definitely do need another striker, and I think that should be our next option for me for the transfer window, as well as a right back. Eriksen as an 8 will unleash his true potential. Ronaldo can go. Is that because you don't want Ronaldo to score against you, Luca? Martial injury prone and unreliable. Yeah, he can be unreliable. But I think Ten Hag will improve Martial. I think he's gonna. I think out of everyone who's gonna improve the most, I think it's gonna be Martial, in my opinion. My dad's gone Man United for 4th. I know my dad has mentioned that he thinks Man United may be underestimated this season. Because United got in the Champions League before Arsenal taking forever. Arsenal, we got lots of problems. Fun fact, the last player to score a UCL goal for Arsenal was Giroud. That's great. So, I'm going to go now on to my 4th place. As much as I'd like to say it's Liverpool, but I obviously can't. The one is Chelsea. I know people say you can't look at pre-season and go this, and this, but I don't think Chelsea's been that good at all during pre-season. I think they've been bad. And looking at Chelsea, they signed Raheem Sterling. Terrific, because I think Raheem Sterling is a very underrated winger. They've lost out on Jules Koundé, who is their priority signing, for the past 2 years. You've had everyone laugh at us going, oh, this has took so long to sign Jadon Sancho, ha 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 ha. It's took them 2 seasons to try and get Jules Koundé, and they've never even signed him. They've signed one centre-back to replace 2 centre-backs, so Rudiger and Christensen, and that is Koulibaly. And in my opinion, I'm not a fan of Koulibaly. I liked him a few years ago. I think he would have done well, but he's past it for me. He plays better in a back three, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's going to be it for Chelsea. And I think what they're probably looking at is probably a strong leader in the back three. And of course, Koulibaly can be that, but I just think they need that a little bit more. I don't think he'll work too great for me with Thiago Silva. And what's going to happen with the third centre-back, Azpilicueta, who's potentially leaving. That is going to be a disaster in itself. I actually think Thomas Tuchel's on borrowed time. The only reason why I think Thomas Tuchel is on borrowed time, he won the Champions League in his first season. Let me just say that was with Lampard's team. It wasn't even Thomas Tuchel's team. And then you look at that as well. Well done, you won the Champions League, great, blah, blah, blah. You've bottled 2 FA Cups. You've bottled a Carabao Cup. You've bottled 3 trophies under this man. And, you know, we knew under Roman Abramovich that Chelsea has always had that short-term solution, and maybe the new owner is going to look at that and think, well, it's worked for Chelsea before, maybe I might do that. And if that's the case, I think Thomas Tuchel will be gone very, very soon, because they're not going to accept more trophies being bottled and bottled and bottled. They won the Super Cup, they won the FIFA World Cup, great again. But they wouldn't have got in the Super Cup or the FIFA World Cup if they didn't win the Champions League. So that means that would have been, if they never won the Champions League, there's 2 trophies they would have never have won. So I think he's great, but I just think it's the way Chelsea are, and I think they'll expect much better off a manager like Thomas Tuchel. Luka's gone for Chelsea 4th, Arsenal 5th, Chelsea 4th for Doug, Spurs 3rd for Reece. They are in trouble. I agree. And another thing is about Chelsea is their strikers. I'd argue that they haven't had a good striker since Drogba. I'd actually going to tell you a good fact here. Drogba was the last Chelsea player to win the Golden Boot. The last Chelsea player. So you can imagine how long ago that was. So they have not had a proper goal scorer like Drogba since. They've had so many strikers who's flopped. They've had strikers who have been good, but they don't use, like Tammy Abraham and Giroud, and they've flourished in the Italian league. So I think they are better in the false 9 route, but they don't have a proper goal scorer for me. Koundé joined Barcelona, exactly, so they can't even laugh one bit about us with Sancho. Chelsea haven't done great business and lost out on Rafinha. Yep, another one. A volley balls up. Chelsea put all their eggs in one basket in Jules Koundé, while Manchester United have put all their eggs in one basket with Frankie de Jong. And you're spot on, Doug. You really, really are spot on about that. Why do people say Chelsea are going to bottle top 4? People don't realise Chelsea are still an ambitious club, but Koulibaly and Thiago are old. Chelsea need a young centre-back. I think Thiago Silva is so good, but they do need to look at other options as well. They need to look at younger defenders for me. I think Chelsea will struggle this season. Sterling will thrive better with a proper number 9. He has thrived under Pep though when he hasn't had a number 9 there for a few seasons, so who knows. Fourth, Chelsea. Amazing plays, but flaky mentality. Spot on. Honestly, spot on, Andrew. Tuchel has one season left, exactly, and I think he'll probably get sacked. Chelsea are amazing on their day, no consistency. No, exactly. Just look at Everton game, and that just says it all for me. For me, Mount and Havertz needs to chip in for more goals, and Kante can't keep fit. I think Kante plays more as a box-to-box. Mason Mount, he can score and assist. He's great. I think I'm actually going to get the stats up about Mason Mount. The Mason Mount didn't do particularly bad for stats, actually. So let me just get that up, and I'll let you know about Mason Mount for last season. So Mason Mount for last season, he had 32 appearances, 11 goals, 10 assists. So in 22 out of 32 games, he scored or assisted. So there's only been 10 games out of 32 he hasn't done anything. That's not bad. That ain't bad for a right-wing player / attacking midfielder, in my opinion. These are all Tuchel signings. If he doesn't get this right, he will get the sack. Reece James, arguably for me, best right back in the league, maybe even in the world. I really, really rate Reece James, and I think that Real Madrid are going to go for him soon. So I'm going to go with third place now, and I have gone for Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham Hotspur have been truly backed. Conte has been backed. Perisic, Bissouma, Richarlison, Spence, Lenglet, Ashworth, Keeler. No one can look at them signings and say, Conte hasn't been backed. Daniel Levy out. Conte's not been sacked. Conte has been sacked. He has got near enough a squad full of players. I think in the first 10 games, they will be quite leaky in the defence. But once they gel, I think they'll do great. They've started Harry Kane, who is in his prime, Heung-min Son, who is terrific, Kulusevski, who I really, really rate as well. I think, though, Man City and Liverpool are miles ahead of all these teams at the moment. So I don't think there is no way that Tottenham are going to finish in that top 2. But Conte needs to aim for these cup competitions. I don't think the Champions League is going to be one he'll particularly aim for. I aim for knockout probably. But he will aim for the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. And if he doesn't get this top 3, if he doesn't get the top 3, if he doesn't win a cup, Conte is gone. It doesn't matter if Perisic has signed a 2-year deal. Doesn't matter if Spencer signed a 5-year deal. Richarlison signed. If they don't win a trophy under Conte, Spurs is never going to win a trophy. But they've definitely had the best transfer window by a mile. They've got a terrific manager who has brought the best out of the players. He's been strict with the food, the training, the regime. It's really worked well for Spurs. Everything's gelling for Conte at the moment, so there's no reason for me why they don't finish third. Anything out the top 4 for Spurs is a failure. Third place for me is Liverpool. Ooh, interesting. If Liverpool don't win the league, we are definitely going for the UCL. I think Nunes is taking ages to settle, and Klopp doesn't seem to know his best team. Over rotation will kill them. Spurs got a better squad than United. Not sure if Richarlison. In my opinion, I don't really rate Richarlison, but I know Conte can get great out of a player who isn't really good. He can do great, and I think he probably will do good under Conte. I must be honest. As much as I love Klopp, I think he can be loyal to certain players. Says rather. My dad said Richarlison is rubbish. Yeah. Yeah. So that's third place. So I'm gonna go into second now. I might just leave that suspense for just a moment, just to see what people think I'm gonna put. But for second place for me is Liverpool. I know I left you on suspense, but Liverpool for me is going to be second. They haven't really had players out who I look, apart from Mane, who I'd say, wow, what have you done here? But Mane wanted to leave. He wanted a better deal elsewhere. They got 41 mil for him. Fabio's a great signing. Calvin Ramsey, from what I heard, is a great signing. I'm going to be honest, I'm not a fan of Darwin Núñez. I'm not going to repeat it for the 100th time because everyone knows why I don't rate Darwin Núñez. I've watched him a lot for Benfica. So it's not because of the Liverpool links. It's because I just simply don't rate him. He's a goal scorer, but I think Liverpool need to change the system to suit Darwin Núñez in the 4-2-3-1. And I think Firmino needs to play in the 10. I think he will struggle in the Premier League for me, in my opinion. But that squad that Liverpool has, they've got Alisson for me, who's probably the best goalkeeper in the league. They've still got a very fit Van Dijk. They've got Matip, who I would consider very underrated. Andy Robertson, who is still a terrific left back. Thiago, terrific box-to-box midfielder. Fabinho, who has started scoring goals and is a great defensive midfielder. They've still got Mo Salah at his peak. They've also as well signed Luis Diaz, which what I'm happy to see a lot more of in the league, because I think Diaz has done so well. I really think Manchester United should have gone for this guy, but I just think, just like it was this season, the final day of the season is going to go based off a couple of points. It's going to go to the very last day of the season for the league, and Liverpool will probably miss out by a point or two, because both Man City and Liverpool are great teams. As I never met my rivals, so it really does hurt me to say. But I do think, for me, Liverpool need to change the formation to suit Darwin Núñez, because I think otherwise he will struggle massively in the Premier League this season. But as I say, Calvin Ramsey is a great signing. So is Fabio from Fulham. We already knew that was a done deal before the season started. Andrew, second Spurs. Conte signed for perfect club fame and been backed accordingly. Exactly. Spurs are good in every depth apart from keeper. Yeah, they did sign a keeper as well, but I don't think they're gonna be keeping him. He's not gonna be first choice. It's gonna stay as Lloris. I'm not a fan of goalkeepers being a captain either. If Conte don't win a trophy, what will happen, Maisy? If Spurs don't get third and they don't win a trophy, what if Spurs finish fourth and don't win a trophy? I think Conte stays. No, I think if he finishes fourth, he'll probably be happy, but he wants a trophy. But I think if he finishes out of the top four, he'll walk. Spurs will win FA Cup, says Reese. My dad agrees about Darwin struggling in the Premier League. A lot of Liverpool fans are saying we are one midfielder short from winning the league. For me, I do genuinely think you've got one of the best midfields in the league. I think the only, liability would be Keita. I like Keita at times, but I think he can be quite sloppy as well. He can give possession away, but when Keita is on great form, he's a great midfielder. But I just don't think he works with Thiago. So it's like either dropping Thiago or Keita, and I know which one I'd rather play. Luca Kardashian, says Reese. Spurs will win the League Cup. Yeah, I actually predicted that on John's channel. Eric Ten Hag has demanded for Diaby. Interesting. Oh, hey there, I like coffee. I hope you're well. I've predicted Newcastle to finish 8th. I know you probably won't be happy about that one. Oh my God, we will not come second. Where do you think you're gonna finish then? Hey there, Cyber Leader. Hope you're well. Thank you for tuning in. Naby, yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah, I do think he is a very good signing there for West Ham, and I know that he has been wanted by Newcastle. I've watched a few games of him. He scored 16 goals overall in the Italian league. I think and he's a striker, and that's the kind of striker that you do need. You need someone either to be a replacement for Antonio or to compete with Antonio. So I definitely think it's such a good signing. You need goal scorers. You've improved on your defence already, so to improve on a striker, and Antonio is quite injury prone, I think that you've done very, very well. I really do. First Man City, second Liverpool, third Spurs, Arsenal 4th, 5th Chelsea, 6th United, 7th Newcastle to finish 8th and 9th. Ooh, I like that. I like coffee. City first if Haaland stays fit, 30 goals. Joe Gomez needs to fix up because if he plays, he's gonna get. I think Joe Gomez is good in the right back position. I must be honest. I like him as a right back. So yeah, there's only one team left. We all know who's finishing first. Manchester City. Manchester City. I think they already guaranteed the league anyway with what they've done in the recent years, improving. They've got the right manager in terms of Pep Guardiola, but now they've improved. They've got Haaland, an actual striker. Yeah, I did predict you. I predict you 7th. Yes, so yeah, Manchester City, Haaland getting a proper number 9 in, fantastic. I think if Haaland was to say fit, he can easily score 20 goals. But the thing is with Haaland, he is very injury prone. And we have seen that early in Haaland, he has been out for a long periods of time. I don't think in that kind of respect it will overly affect City because they can play the false 9 route and they've done well in the false 9 route. But I think at times, especially when it's been corners in the air, you kind of miss that number 9. And I think that's why Erling Haaland is that little bit of a missing key for Manchester City. Another one where it's going to break my heart right now, Calvin Phillips signing for Manchester City. Another great signing. I wanted Calvin Phillips to United ever since the Championship days. And I even said that Calvin Phillips is going to get snatched up by a top club. And to get snatched up by Manchester City, Pep Guardiola seeing the potential of Calvin Phillips just really shows the kind of player he is. And I would argue that he's one of the best defensive midfielders in the league, who could also play as an 8, who could also play as a centre-back. He's very versatile. So I do think Calvin Phillips is another great signing. But going back to Haaland, I think he may even potentially struggle. If he gets the injuries, I think he might struggle. I don't think we are going to see, for me, the 20-goal Erling Haaland. I think that may potentially be next season. But yeah, Manchester City, another time champions of the Premier League. So I'll quickly go through the comments and I'll wrap up. Man United 6th for I Like Coffee. I got the 5th. 7th. Manchester City 1st from my dad. Maybe West Ham 7th from I Like Coffee. You're very welcome, Cyber Leader, and thank you as well for coming into the chat. Do Man City set up to suit Haaland or have him suit? I think they're already suited to how he plays. The 4-3-3 works. So they've already got good wingers, Manchester City. They've got plenty of wingers. So he is already set up well for that team. But it's just, for me, it's more the matter of, how can I say, it is the matter of him staying fully fit. And I don't think he'll stay fully fit for a whole season. Unpopular decision, but I think Erling Haaland will be average next season. It's not unpopular in our fan base. That's just all I'm going to say. I like coffee. Haaland won't be top goal scorer, but I think he'll do okay. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be top goal scorer. I went for Mo Salah from Liverpool for mine. Mo Salah's sensational, unfortunately. United, 3 players and 1 player sold. What a joke of a club, supposed to be a rebuild. Exactly, Andrew. Exactly. It worries me, to be honest. And Ten Hag really needs the backing. Kane will be top goal scorer from Luka. I think it's going to be a close one. But we'll wrap it up here now. I know I've gone for a long time. You probably weren't expecting me to be this long. But thank you, everyone who's come in. Hit that like button, and if you're new, also hit that subscribe button. So here it is as well. If you haven't already, go on to my fantasy football. You can have a chance of winning a free Manchester United women ticket at Old Trafford. So go and join on that code D76IRQ. And there you will be able to be in a league. And then the week before the game is at Old Trafford, whoever is first wins a ticket. So good luck, and if you haven't joined that, I'll be next live, most likely will be next week, with my player profile. I've got a player profile for Donny van der Beek. I know it's been a while, it's been rearranged, but yeah, Donny van der Beek. I've got Ahmad as well. I've got my preview for Brighton. So I've got plenty coming up on the channel. So go and check it all out. Bye, alright, coffee. Thanks for coming in, my friend. Scenes if United have a bad season. Scenes when Arsenal don't get into the Champions League. Wait, they won't. Andrew, great show. Thank you so much. Clash Stream, thank you so much. Clash Stream, thank you again so much. Yeah, so I'll wrap it up here. Thank you all, and we will see you very soon. Take care, and bye-bye for now.